You're probably quite used to receiving emails with lots of colourful formatting, even pictures and links in the email message. This is done by embedding HTML into the email either directly or with a template or a combination of both. Before we have a look at that, let's revisit our example, email test CC. You'll recall that we put in a CC value here and a subject. Let's make it test 78 so we can distinguish what happens when we get this. But let's leave the BCC blank this time and send. And we get a warning message saying missing or malformed local part in line 39 of the file. That's because the BCC and the CC was blank. Let's fill something in and try it again, just anything at all. And it tells us the recipient address must contain a domain. In other words, the server is checking for a valid email address in both the CC and the BCC lines. So when we go to producing our next demonstration, embedding HTML, and to do this, in a fresh code pane, open the snippet email add HTML, and in another code pane, open email template. Save the email template in the demo directory as email template.html, and save this HTML email script as email_test_html.php in the demo folder. This new script now references, with the variable template URL, the name of the file, which is in the same folder, so it doesn't need any path prefix, the file we just created, email template. We're also going to deploy our old friend check email as a function in this script to check whether the email address is in the correct format. The form component is exactly the same as before. There's no difference there because we're collecting the same data. However, when we process the form, we're going to get the template using the PHP function file get contents of this file that's referenced by template URL. We're going to exchange this token for our message that we send from the form in the template string, which is the contents of the template, and then we'll render that HTML message. Let's just look at the email template.html, which is an HTML script with that name. It has a style sheet embedded in it with lots of styles and, in fact, some background images there. And it has a number of HTML div tags to render the form. Embedded in the middle of it, there is this thing which we call a token. Now, the token doesn't have to have any particular format. It can be any string of text which is unlikely to be used anywhere else. So I've chosen to use the word content, prefaced with a %sign, enclosed in brackets. And then when I use my template file, I'm going to use the PHP function string replace that string bracket %content bracket with the message that I get in the message box in this template. So get the template and replace the token with the message. In other words, it'll embed the message of our email in that spot there in this HTML page. The next thing we need to notice is that we're checking the email and the mail BCC. Of course, we're checking mail CC and mail BCC. And finally, this really important part here, which adds the content type parameter into the headers component of the mail function. And that's of the form content-type : text/HTML, as always, followed by /r/n. That tells the email client, if it's able to render the content of the email message in HTML format. Let's save that and find it in our demo folder, email test HTML, and run that. We don't need to worry this time about the CC and BCC because we know we've trapped them out in the code. But let's put in a name of file, 79, and a message. 79 and send this to our email address, tester training, etc. It renders the content of the email address because we actually had in here that once it got the template, it was to echo the template. And of course, it's replaced the content with the token with the message test79. Let's see if we can find it in our email client, get mail. And here it is, test79 has arrived. It's rendered the HTML template and placed the message in there. Let's have a look at a final example, opening an HTML email snippet. Control A will select all of that, Control C will copy it, and let's run our email program again, this time pasting in this HTML code into the message and make it test 80 and send. Once again, we'll look for it by getting mail in our email client. Test 80 has arrived, and it not only renders the template, and of course if I click load images, it will load those background images that I put into the template, but it not only renders the template, it's also rendered the HTML code that I entered into the message box of the email program. So we can combine formatted email from rendering a template and rendering HTML content in the message box.